Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I see some of the comments. You're joining from various parts of the world. Thank you so much. I'm both honored and humbled to be here presenting this topic to you. Uh, First of all, thanks to Julius and all the Bigo of an development group for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences and lessons learned with all of you. uh, Julius approached me a few months ago to speak here, and as I pondered about the possible topics, I came across one of the icebreaker questions at work. What advice would you tell your younger self? And that's when it occurred to me that I should really open it up to all of you who may be in your early or mid career. And if only a few of you can learn from this, my goal here is achieved. So here I am opening up and being vulnerable to all of you. Looking forward to getting feedback from all of you in the comments as well as after the talk. So, in my 20s, I had a particular career progression in mind: software engineer, then manager, then director, and so on, and a level growth every 5 years. That's all I could see as a naive graduate. I'm sure some of you can relate to it. But the reality was quite different. I grew, no doubt, but not in a straight line. There were many, many bumps along the way, some big, like companies going bankrupt, career changes, taking a long maternity break, the global pandemic, and so on. And but even on a smaller time scale, there are even more smaller setbacks that we all face. And I'm sure you do as well. Issues at home, tough projects at work, missed opportunities, or things that we don't feel so good about ourselves. But embracing these ups and downs is part of our learning journey through life. Rather than resisting when things don't work out as planned, uh, we should ask ourselves what we can learn from it and move on. Uh, Having said all that, I'm very grateful for all that we have now, all the basic necessities, and then some. There's nothing to complain about. And so here I am sharing some of the lessons that I wish I had. Somebody had told me back in my when I was in my 20s, and I hope to help all of you adopt a growth mindset in your career and hopefully in life. So, what is growth mindset? Dr. Carol Dweck, a famous psychologist, came up with the concept of people having two mindsets: fixed mindset and growth mindset. In the fixed mindset, people believed in their basic qualities like their intelligence or talent. Mostly, they believe that talent alone creates success without effort. On the other hand, with the growth mindset, we actually have to believe that we can grow through dedication and hard work. And brain and talent is just the starting point. And this is the view that creates a lot of learning, and it gives us the resilience that is essential for accomplishment. Now, how do you know you have growth mindset? Uh, you would know it if you are able to go through various challenges and learn from it, and view these failures as opportunities, and get better. There are some very famous examples like Michael Jordan. Apparently, he was rejected from the tryouts, but then he practiced consistently, and of course, he got into NBA and is one of the world's greatest players. There are similar stories about Einstein, artists like Walt Disney, and many, many corporate leaders. So it's common for all of us to have a combination of fixed and growth mindsets. I myself have a very fixed mindset when it comes to food habits and some of the physical sports. You cannot get me to run or jog or play basketball or anything. But on the other hand, when it comes to challenging projects, whether it is technical or arts related or voluntary based, I'm always willing to take on things and put in my efforts and develop these projects. So that's where I believe I do have the growth mindset. Now there are professions where fixed mindset is okay, but in our industry, the tech industry, growth is absolutely important, because the technology itself moves quite fast, and if we don't adapt to it, if we don't learn along the way, we would be left behind there. There are some good questionnaires on the internet. If you want to take a quiz to see if you have a growth mindset or not, I would encourage you to Google that and take some. But overall, just know that we all are quite resilient, so we will all have that little bit of growth mindset. This is the whole point of evolution. All right. So, in the next 30 minutes, what will we cover? We will cover how we can incorporate some of the growth mindset in these frequent scenarios that we may be looking at. We also want to help you build a network and a support system for us in this journey. But along the way, I would like to have you do some activities as well. So, if you don't mind, grab a pen or paper, or maybe like a mobile device to take some notes. I would love for you to participate, and maybe even put in the comments if you are okay sharing. It's not required, but I would love for you to do these activities and share if you can. All right? Do you have a pen and paper? Yes? Okay, I hope you grabbed a pen and paper. So let's start from where we are, because as we look inward or introspect, and to see where we are in our life or career, there are two things that are very important: knowing who we are, and uh, the next one is to be authentic. For the knowing who we are, it's not just the physical aspects, but deeper. What are our values? What are our strengths, weaknesses? Now, this is a good exercise to do maybe once a year, for you to just take some time off and focus and see where you are in your life or career, and what do you want to do, things like that. It is okay for our strengths and weaknesses to change over time. We may want to improve on some of these strengths, and some of the weaknesses really don't matter. I cannot run, so unless a tiger is chasing me, it really doesn't matter. Of course, I've got to take care of my health, so fitness is important. uh, on the second aspect, to be authentic, we could be inspired by others, but we cannot keep copying others. There are some aspects that we can incorporate into our life, but we have to adapt it to our own self. And this is where we have to kind of realize what we are made of, what we are willing to work for, what we can tolerate, and what we cannot tolerate. So it's a combination of our values and actions and behaviors, and it's this personality that we carry, and it comes out in work and other places. And it's better to have this authentic personality instead of a facade. Lastly, I would like for you to think about what motivates you. Now, there are extrinsic motivators like money, promotions, good grades, or praise or recognition, and then there are some intrinsic motivations like what you need to feel good. Exercise, believe it or not, makes me feel good. It pumps up my adrenaline. It Sometimes some good achievements at work, it makes me believe in myself, and I want to invest more in these type of things. Sometimes I have a curiosity about various topics. I research it. Sometimes when I go traveling, it is very satisfying. So these are some intrinsic motivators. So now let's see about all of you. It's activity time, whether you have a pen and paper or a device. I hope you're ready. Write down two motivators, and we'll take 30 seconds for that. Try not to make it about money. Julius, Jesse, UN, I hope you're also doing this along with me. Money and more money. Let's try. That's why there's a second motivator. Let's see if we can have another motivator other than money. Meaningful work. That's very good. Nice. Getting to see the scale and impact of the work we are doing. Awesome. It's always good to see the results of what we are doing out there in the open, especially in these days. Awesome. So I hope all of you have made these notes. Now take these notes and put it in a prominent place in your work area or home, so that you know what you're working for. On tough days, it gets you going. It'll be really inspirational for you. And on happy days, it kind of reaffirms the faith in what you're doing. So you can always realign to those motivators. Awesome. Thank you very much for participation. Now, now that we know who we are, I would like to take you through my journey, but your journey could be similar or slightly different. Maybe it has different titles there or different colors depending on what you've been doing. But I hope you can see the similarity between our careers. Um, After my master's, I started as a software engineer, and I learned a lot in from my mentor, tech leads, and managers. And I became a tech lead, and I was enjoying the Silicon Valley life. But then in 2001, the dot com bust happened, and the company I was working for went bankrupt. We were working very hard on the next generation of wireless data networking well before its time. And it was extremely devastating for all of us because a lot of what we had worked on never saw the light of the day. So that was a low point in my career. It bothered me for about 3 to 4 months that, hey, the company that we were working on went bankrupt. But over time, I got over it, and finally, I said, okay, now is a good time to take a maternity break. I had twins, and that was a lot of work. But I enjoyed the time with them for about 3 years, and then I had enough of the nursery rhymes, and I wanted to get back to tech. And that was the getting back to tech was another um, experience for me. It took me 4 months to find a job. The companies did not want to take in a software engineer who was not on hands on for the last 3 years. Even though I could go for a lower level a job, a junior software engineer, I could answer all the interview questions, but they were hesitant to take me on. It was very humbling. I had to strategize. I went to community college, took some programming classes. I networked there, and I met a person who introduced me to her company. And then I joined that company, Proofpoint. I joined as a manual QA engineer, but in 5 years, I turned around the manual QA into an automation first organization, and I had even started a remote team in India. Still, my focus was very much on QA. This is when my manager, Dave Klein, and the VP of engineering, then Wade Chambers, they coached me and mentored me a lot. And I had a aha moment there. um, they help me understand to pivot from QA as a focus to making quality and other aspects of engineering and how I can solve the various problems like security, reliability, and the continuous improvement and solve it so that the business itself can move much faster. And that to me was a point of inflection in my career. Since then, 11 years and counting, I've enjoyed forming, supporting, and growing many teams to solve various business problems. And I've truly enjoyed growing various folks around me as their mentor as well. both at work and outside as part of the Plateau Mentoring platform. And I'm grateful for all these folks who have invested in me, and they continue to invest in me. I still have a good relationship with all of my previous mentors as well as my current mentors. Now, changing gears a little bit, I talked about the effect of these leaders in my career. And so I want to impress upon you the importance of these leaders and what they have. Inherently, these folks, they have a growth mindset. And so they love to not just grow themselves, but develop others around them. And that's a place where we will start in our growth mindset journey. Whether you are a tech leader or a people leader, you must be motivated in growth yourself as well as in learning. And these folks who have this growth mindset, they even in the face of various crises, they actually are calm and they see opportunities to learn, not only for themselves but for their team, and that's how they behave, and that's how they bring themselves. And this is something that's fantastic if you have watched some of your leaders as well. And this is where they would embrace change and help the organization disrupt themselves so that that we can actually continuously improve as an organization. The second part here, the soft or human skills, whether you have a title or not, you will need some of these soft skills to be a leader. Whether it is integrity, communication skills, interpersonal skills, teamwork, conflict resolution, these are all soft skills, but they are essentially making you into a leader, and you will need growth mindset as you inculcate these habits. Last but not the least, there is a multiplicative factor of these leaders. Just like Wade and Dave helped me grow, I'm not the only person who grew with their mentorship. They've grown many people. So, this is the multiplicative factor where you go through the 5 different levels of leadership. And sometimes people follow you because they must follow you because you're the tech lead or something, but sometimes they're wowed by the results, and sometimes they are following you because of the people development that you do, and lastly, they may follow you because what you represent, and this is the pinnacle of leadership. And you will find a lot of leaders around you there in your life. Recognize them, talk to them, observe them, and of course learn from them. um, Moving along, so you might think, okay, I see some of these leaders, but I don't know them personally. How do I get to know them? Or your goal may be, how do I meet people in a certain segment? Or you may be interested in meeting people who work at a certain type of company, or who work in the public cloud, or whatever areas you want to get into. Where would you meet them? LinkedIn, meetups like Big O of N Development, lunch club, other social places. So, what would you do? You want to have a clear elevator pitch of who you are and you would like to. Yeah, what you would like to meet them, and this is a give and take relationship. So you want to make sure. Oops, you want to make sure that you are genuinely interested in this conversation, and also follow up with them and connect with them often. uh, so those are the aspects of networking there. So as you connect with different types of people, they have different ideas, and with all this internet, you don't have to be limited in your own geographical location as well. So time for our next activity. Ready? So, write names of 2 people to network with in the next 30 days. It may be somebody right here in the Big O of N development, or it may be somebody that you've been wanting to network with, and uh, you have to put yourself out there. So, let's take about 15 seconds, write names of 2 people. Wade Chambers is on LinkedIn, so you can actually follow him. He's a fantastic leader. I don't know who Chet is, but sounds like a cool person. I should look him up. Awesome. I hope you all have lists, and I hope you have a to do item to follow up with these folks in the next 30 days. Now, the epitome of resilience is Nelson Mandela. He says, "Do not judge me by my successes, but judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." Most of you know that he spent a large amount of his life in that very small jail cell. So it must have taken him a lot, despite going through all of that, to still fight for the apartheid and all the stuff that he believed in. So, this is where it is very important for us to understand what is resilience. It's about there are many places where we will fall down, we will stumble, we will have failures, but it is in the rising up again and trying again. That is the true journey, and that will lead us to success. It may not be where we want to be, but it will help us grow in the long run. Uh, as I said, with COVID itself, there are so many different challenges, and how can we adapt to it? And how can we make sure that it's not just us, but the people around us or the people near and dear us? How can we help them adapt? And how can we transform because of it? If you can remember, Zoom was a small company. Well, it was not so small, but during this pandemic, it just grew because they knew how to connect people and get them closer together. And so are many other companies like that. So making the best out of the situation is important, and that exhibits resilience. I myself make more healthier meals now, and I get more steps tracked on my Fitbit these days, and that's how I'm making the most out of all of this work from home. I hope you all have adapted somehow in these pandemic times, and I'm looking forward to hearing about some of these things. Sometimes it's important to go slow in the short term to cover a lot more mileage in the long run, and this will help us avoid burnout. And this is where it's important to distinguish between the journey and the goal. You have to make the most out of the journey and enjoy it as you go along. And this is something I still struggle with, and I'm working on it. There are days where I get frustrated saying, I really wanted to hit that goal, but and I do have to remind myself to enjoy the journey. And then there are times where we have self-doubt, like last night. And am I even capable of doing this, and what do I do? But these are the times where we have to rely on our support system. uh, there is this concept called imposter syndrome, and a lot of us go through that, where you're engulfed by self-doubt and you just freeze or you withdraw into your shell. This is where you need your support system. It could be your husband, wife, significant other, or your parents. Don't rule out your kids. They're quite observant. They can probably tell you things more candidly than anybody else can. Uh, but overall, these are the folks that will help you and fill you with strength. And sometimes they are brutally honest with you, and that might just be the thing that you need at that point in time. But at work, you will have different types of support system. You may have colleagues. Some will be true partners in your initiative, where you have shared success. Some may be like mentors who have already gone through this journey, and they'll help you say, you know what, this is what is going to go through, just like I'm leading you through some of them. And some may be true allies who can help you and support you in meetings. I myself truly learned how to ask for help and ask for allies just earlier this year. I didn't even know how to ask for help. And these are some of the things that you have to build these. It's uncomfortable, but you have to build these ways to ask for help when you need it. And this is something that you must have for your growth mindset. Again, I'm fortunate to have had an excellent set of mentors. I talked to you about some of them before, and I still have an amazing set of partners at work. And this is something that I wish on all of you, but it won't just happen because you would have to build these connections. All right, another activity time. Time to write down an area where you would like a mentor. Let's take 20 seconds for that. This doesn't always need to be in a career related work. Want a mentor who will help me lead without being an expert? Nice. Yeah. DSA, not sure what that stands for. All right. I hope that you've all noted down some areas where you want a mentor, because you'll have to go back to those people that you wanted to network with and see if one of them are willing to mentor you through this. So, connecting all of these activities together. Now, last but not the least, how do you bring it all together? We all have only 24 hours in a day. But how can some folks be so productive while some of us just have enough trouble just getting through the one aspect of our work? How do people manage work and life? Is it perfect? No. I used to think that, oh, I have to have work life balance as my kids were growing up. I wish I'd read this book when my kids were younger. Just recently, I read this book from Shelley Archambault. It's called Unapologetically Ambitious. I have these sets of books at the in the last slide, so you don't have to make note of it yet. It's a very inspiring book. Shelley is Silicon Valley's first female African American CEO, and she talks about various things in her book, but one of them being work life balance, and she calls it an unattainable myth because she says it always makes us feel guilty because our life isn't always balanced between work and home. You cannot spend like 50% at work, 50% at home. It just doesn't work that way. Instead, she says optimize our lives and make the intentional moves and deliberate choices. And this is something that was very important that I recently had to put in practice. And this is where you incorporate the things more than work, your whole life, your the longevity of life, as well as what is happening in the present. This is where you have to absolutely prioritize self-care, whether you believe in meditation or a spa or time away with your friends or just a weekly hangout, and this could be one of them too. Um, but the other aspect is, think about your longevity of life. Usually people have 30, 40 years of a career, but our life span is much longer than that. So what do you want to do before you die? Here in America they call it a bucket list. So I have a bucket list of places that I want to visit. Some of you may want to go climb mountains or go scuba diving, whatever it is. Make sure that it is part of your work life, and you don't want to wait until you retire to do all of those things. So I would highly encourage that you integrate work and life together. All right, the last activity, write down one area apart from work that you want to prioritize. All the hints are there in this screen, but it could be something different too. All right, exercise, that's good. Run a successful tech startup, that is a good one life goal, but try to have something other than just work. Wait for 10 more seconds. All right, getting married, exercise, Zumba 3 to 4 days. You know what? It's awesome. I'm hats off to you, Cindy. I do hope that you can incorporate that, and this is exactly time management and ruthless prioritization. Family is a good thing. Yeah, spending time with family always pays off. Sometimes not in the short term, but in the long term, yes. That is from my experience from being a mom. All right. I hope that over this presentation that I've helped you understand some of the ways to incorporate growth mindset, whether it is in leadership or to reach out to somebody as a network or as a support system. More importantly, building resilience into your own grit. But last but not the least, hopefully you will get stronger with the work-life integration. Hope you got some tools to navigate these challenges as well. And those to dos from the activities, I wish there was a way for all of us to follow up. If you did reach out to your network in the next 30 days, uh, as well as, try to incorporating that life goal and the motivators and bring it all together, because this is us, this is one life as we live it. Let's make it a journey, let's make it a pleasant journey, even though there are lots of ups and downs. We've got to embrace the growth mindset. So that's my talk, and here are some of my favorite books that I love, and I love reading these books over and over again, because at every different stage of my life, the same books have given me different perspectives, and there are other books also, but these are some of my go-to's as I read them.